Your Royal Highness, thank you very much for those reflections and that important thought that will help animate us in our discussions over these next 2 days. Good evening and welcome all of you to the 10th IISS Manama Dialogue. For all of its long history, the IISS has been at the forefront of strategic thought, providing evidence-based research from an international perspective. We have also been a facilitator of strategic discussion and debate in the service of better public policy. Today, we mark the 10th edition of the IISS Manama Dialogue, and we are very proud of our partnership with the Kingdom of Bahrain in this effort to inspire open and transparent strategic debate. In 2002, with the first IISS Shangri-La Dialogue Asia Security Summit held in Singapore, the IISS began directly to inspire intergovernmental defense diplomacy. Our analysis of the Asia-Pacific security landscape suggested that it was necessary for a regional security architecture to be developed that would invite direct dialogue between the defense ministers of the region. While presidents, prime ministers, foreign ministers, and finance ministers met regularly, defense ministers rarely consulted each other, and certainly not in formations that involved more than a couple of governments at any given time. Rather than merely advocate the creation of an Asia-Pacific defense minister consultative structure, the IISS decided to create one and encourage defense diplomacy at a multilateral level. Now the Shangri-La Dialogue is seen as an integral part of Asia's regional security structures, recognized as such by governments, and indeed it has made easier for defense ministers subsequently to meet in the region in formations of their own invention. That success inspired the IISS to consider how it could contribute to wider national security discussions in the Gulf region. Here, the ministers of the Gulf Cooperation Council countries meet regularly. However, there was no available institutional forum where they could meet each other with their immediate neighbors, such as Iran, Iraq, and Yemen, or to do so at the same time as consulting leaders from other regions, including North America, Europe, and Asia, who had security interests in the Gulf. When large conferences were held on Gulf security, these tended to be outside the region. The need was for a summit that convened within the region, giving voice to the governments and opinion formers of the area, and which was inclusive, engaging all those with a stake in regional security. And so it was that in late 2003, the IISS began preparations for the first Gulf Dialogue. It all started with a conversation I was privileged to have with the Crown Prince of Bahrain in London, where I briefly laid out to him my idea of a regional summit of national security professionals. After a moment's reflection, he said simply to me, "Let's try to do this in Bahrain." We happily did just that in December 2004. It was clear that a gap in the defense diplomatic marketplace had been filled with that first meeting, and within a few years we saw it confirmed as a much respected and needed annual summit, which we restyled the Manama Dialogue. The Foreign Minister of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, His Royal Highness Prince Saud Al Faisal, laid out at the first dialogue his vision of a secure Gulf, which would require, in his view, a unified GCC, an integrating Yemen, a stable Iraq, and a friendly Iran. Those four conditions appeared uncertain then and remain fleeting now. However, the Manama Dialogue over its first 10 years has played a central role in regional security consultations. It has provided a platform for ministers to announce policy initiatives, an occasion for bilateral and multilateral meetings between government leaders, an opportunity to engage all relevant countries in regional security consultations simultaneously, and a place at which senior officials could off the record discuss policy options for challenges of the day. All of these discussions engage opinion formers and analysts from both the region and outside. As a result, it is at the IISS Manama Dialogue that the strategic pulse of the region is most accurately taken. Increasingly, we expect the Manama Dialogue will be a catalyst for governments to agree policies and arrangements with each other, using the dialogue as an action-forcing event to spur defense diplomatic agreements. I know that this IISS Manama dialogue has provided just such an opportunity. We have released for this IISS Manama dialogue a history of the first 10 editions of the summit. In this volume, you can be reminded of what the ministers from the 34 countries who have participated in the dialogue have said, the policies that they have announced, and the strategies that they have shaped at this event. We have also published an e-book that you will all shortly receive as an Adelphi book entitled Middle Eastern Security, the Rise of ISIL and the US Pivot, which carries a collection of essays from an array of IISS experts across the globe on the geopolitical and geoeconomic issues that the region now confronts. The issues raised at the IISS Manama dialogue and at the many other conferences we organize globally need proper analytical treatment. As a result, the IISS is boosting the capacities of its Middle East office headquartered in Bahrain. I am delighted to announce today that as from 27 January 2015, the Executive Director of the IISS Middle East office here in Manama will be Sir John Jenkins, at present Ambassador of the United Kingdom to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and previously Ambassador to Libya, Iraq, and Syria. Sir John has also served in Kuwait and Abu Dhabi and as Consul General in Jerusalem and as Ambassador to Burma. From the beginning of 2015, under Sir John's leadership, the IISS Middle East Office will be deepening its relations with all the governments of the region, fully engaging the private sector in our work, diversifying our public policy research activities, and developing a fresh strategy to support the Manama dialogue process and ensure that it becomes the major permanent linchpin of regional defense diplomacy. I look forward hugely to the IISS contributing to the policy circles of the region and to engaging the best and brightest women and men in the region in our activities. As this Manama dialogue opens, the region is convulsed in a whirlwind of diplomatic activity. Efforts are now being directed to discover whether a collective approach can be fashioned to meet the multiplying security problems of the day. The last 2 years have seen diplomatic freelancing on a large scale and competition for influence among nominally allied states. Ungoverned spaces have widened, and some of the newly governed spaces, especially in parts of Syria or Iraq, are held by unimaginably dangerous people. Sectarian politics have assumed a geopolitical shape, while regional competition for leadership has intensified. There are fears about the strategic consequences of a failed negotiation with Iran on its nuclear program, but concerns also about the regional balance of power consequences of a successful conclusion to talks. Countries in the region have joined the coalition against ISIL in part because they see an overriding threat, in part to ensure that Washington does not somehow come to see Iran as an alternative partner, but also to bind the US into the region from which it seemed to be casually withdrawing in favor of an Asian vocation. The intramural politics of the Gulf states have never been so complex, their relations with outside powers rarely so uncertain, the prospects of state failure around them certainly never greater. There have been many occasions in the past year observing the policies and roles of the diverse array of actors engaged in the region that one has been sadly reminded of Chinese strategist Sun Tzu's alarming dictum, strategy without tactics is the slowest road to victory, tactics without strategy is the noise before defeat. That said, strategy which must be collective is harder to come by than strategy that is unilateral. It is better to arrive slowly at a good strategy that is joint and is agreed than to be dragged quickly by the effects of a bad strategy that is individual and contested. What perhaps has changed for the better recently is that strategic debate in the region is more transparent and direct. Honest differences of analysis and perspective are more frequently aired. Outside powers' understanding of the trends in the region have become more nuanced, and a greater sense of regional accountability for the challenges within the region is accepted. We think that 10 years of the Manama dialogue has played an absolutely crucial role in inculcating these attitudes. The Manama dialogue, used wisely, can become the incubator for a stronger strategic culture in and for the Middle East. It can also become a summit that drives more effective collective action and deeper public support for it. The IISS wishes warmly to thank His Majesty King Hamad bin Isa bin Salman Al Khalifa for his sterling support to the IISS in building the Manama dialogue process and in developing our Middle East headquarters here, which is set to grow. All of us at the IISS wish to express our warmest thanks to His Royal Highness Prince Salman bin Hamad Al Khalifa, Crown Prince, Deputy Supreme Commander, and First Deputy Prime Minister of Bahrain, for the strategic vision that he displayed in supporting the Manama dialogue, our office here, and the geoeconomic and geostrategic work we conduct. It has been a pleasure to welcome many Crown Prince scholars to work at the IISS, and we are keen for analysts from the other GCC states and the wider Middle East to join our office here. Sir, we have established a strategic partnership together. It has been an excellent 10 years. We look forward to building further this enduring relationship. As we do so, I invite all of you to view this short 4-minute video history of 10 years of the Manama dialogue. Thank you.